Welcome back. You're now watching the lifestyle segment on the weekend show brought to you by Holo Crunch Popcorn. My name is Andy Madaki. So it's now January and it's 2025. So this is officially our first show for the year. It's interesting how much we prepare for Christmas, we prepare for the end of the year, and in about 10 days, it's gone, it's out of the way. Interestingly, we have to live with the consequences. In most cases, the consequences is are right in the middle of our bodies, which is our belly, because we've eaten so much. And so everyone is rushing back to the gyms. I can't imagine how it will look in the next couple of days. Churches and Christians are fasting. People are having New Year resolutions, which a lot of them would let go of in the next 10 days. But I have with me in the studio someone who he used to be on the reality show Go the Ultimate Search, also an actor who was on BBC's Waiting Day, on African Magic's Halita. He is a lifestyle expert, a communication expert, Meta luxury manager for William Grant and Son, founder of iBlend Services and Eddie MPR. It's my pleasure to introduce Mr. Eddie Madaki, who is also my brother. Good morning, Eddie.
Good morning, Andy. How you doing?
I want to start by officially telling you happy birthday in front of everybody.
Thank you.
It was your birthday on the 1st of January. So let's start from that. Do you feel cheated that you get two in one? Or do you feel like you're cheating the rest of us because on your birthday, we are forced to give you a New Year present every year?
I would say, way back, I did feel a little bit cheated because it's very easy to get swallowed up in the festivities and the energy of the celebrations. But over time, with a lot of self-discovery and self-realization, I've come to really, really enjoy the privilege of being born on the 1st of January. As much as it's a new year and a new month, it just gives you a different perspective as to how to forecast for the full year. It almost feels like you have a clear early start, going into the year. So I'm very, very grateful. I think it's a privilege and a very rare, opportunity to be born on the New Year's.
What's your take on New Year resolutions?
Ooh, New Year resolutions, I feel, and I think it's a little bit pedestrian, right? Because it kind of like puts you in a box that you need a particular day, particular time frame to reposition and structure and forecast your plans for the foreseeable future. This is something that can be done anytime. You can at the beginning of a new week, mid-year, wherever you start, the intent is very, very important. But I also do see the reason and rationale behind it, especially with my background from the financial sector and then working in brand building. Everything happens in buckets of years, or 12-month circles, or 5-year circles. So it just makes sense from a structural standpoint to have a start time that's consistent with everybody else. But I like to encourage people, for New Year resolutions, it should be very, very organic and flexible. You might fall off, it's not a perfect science. A lot of people do not deliver on their objections, their commitments when they start a new year. So it's important to have, very smart and measurable goals, things that are achievable, and then you can scale and reposition from time to time and step change, not feel like you're cast in stone, because that's where failure comes in. So that's my perspective for resolutions, really.
That's so grown up. You know what? In the last, I think I haven't had a resolution in about 4 or 5 years, and I think 2020, COVID and everything just gave us that reset where we learned to appreciate the here and the now. However, this year, and I'm not big on resolutions. I do have an interesting resolution this year. And I'll say it, and it's one line. I want to see myself as God sees me.
I love that.
And I think that's the ultimate, because if you're wonderfully and beautifully made, when you want to be harsh on yourself, ask yourself, how does God see me at this point in time? And so that's my watchword for the year, which I want to use to guide me. Because you have moments where, and we'll talk about that shortly, where there's so much going on.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes you question yourself. And stop taking this good, but it could be a rabbit hole. It's like going on YouTube or TikTok to watch one video and you spend 30 minutes in there. And so for me, it's more of a New Year reminder. But you spoke about your background in finance and branding. Tell us, who is Eddie Madaki?
Oof, there's not enough time on any TV show to cover that ground, but I'll try and keep it as bridge as possible. So as you obviously know, we had the privilege of having a relatively liberal upbringing where you could be your truest self and express yourself. From a very, very young age, myself and my brother, started off in the arts, so we're very, very big in songwriting, poetry, art, sports as well. And for me, that was where I kind of like found my core. I felt like, having the gift of the gab and, the ambition to tell stories because we were very, very imaginative kids growing up, have had very, very vivid imagination. So I always knew I wanted to work in communications. I wanted to use my gift of my voice to impact people and build people. At the time, I didn't know what that career would look like or what, it was even called, So I leaned towards my gifts for a long part of my early years. I was always big into arts, and, public speaking and all that. So going into university, I knew for a fact that I wanted to do a course that would allow me to stay creative, and, as an artist and then someone that coincidentally was in the sciences, architecture was just the right path to go. And then in university, started my very first company, Black Hawk Entertainment, which was a multi-service entertainment company. So we took care of talent, we produced music, we produced events and shows, and the likes. And then throughout my university journey, I had the privilege of, practicing taekwondo and basketball in school. So I was very, very active as well. And that's how I fell into Ultimate Search, which coincidentally you applied, for me. And then I got the call, and that really was my claim to fame. And that really opened my eyes with the possibilities that was in the industry, everything from media, and PR. And my life kind of like snowballed from that point on. After Ultimate Search, I was interning on TV and radio. I was doing a lot of public speaking, comparing events and so on and so forth. And this entire time I was in Lagos. And I was now inspired around '07 to come back to Abuja for youth service. And when I came to Abuja, I realized that there was a gap to be filled, in the lifestyle and entertainment space. Everything was structured and standard, but it wasn't exciting, it wasn't innovative, it wasn't pivotal, and it was great to come with a different set of eyes with the exposure that I've had and then my own passion and ambitions, and that gave rise to what we call iBlend Services today, which I basically founded myself, and my immediate family, my brother, you, and Oche Ejiga, and that was the springboard that gave birth to a lot of things that, begat Eddie Madaki today. So iBlend is a 360 business solutions entity. I like to say that we come up with creative solutions for the business needs of our clients. We have been privileged to take care of a range of clients across sectors, from the multilateral sector to FMCG to luxury lifestyle. But on personal recognition, because of my time in public eye and TV and, in front of cameras, I had a little bit of fame, quote unquote, and I would always get people reach out to me with the advent of social media to amplify initiatives for them or to point them in the right direction when they wanted to do things. And that gave birth to what we call Eddie MPR today. And Eddie MPR was primarily a digital marketing agency, which is still running under great leadership now. But this mixed sets of opportunities and data points throughout my journey helped really develop, my persona and my journey and my career. Something that I don't dwell on too much because it all dovetails was that throughout this journey, I was working as a banker for about 10 years. So I went from retail banking, commercial to private banking, and I had the privilege to benefit from a lot of trainings, public speaking, neurolinguistics, programming, customer segmentation, PR, copywriting, and so on and so forth. And when I decided to leave banking in 2015, I already had the springboard as iBlend and Eddie MPR, that we had been building and working on organically. And then I made this full switch. And it's been a great journey so far. It has given me opportunities to take care of a range of fantastic local and international brands. Today I'm privileged to take care of the most prestigious and iconic single malts in the world, and it's a Pan-African focused responsibility. So I'm a luxury manager for William Grant & Sons for Africa, as you said earlier. But that really has been my journey. It hasn't exactly been, a flat plane or uphill or downhill. It has its hills and valleys, but it's been a very, very rewarding journey. And I'm proud to say, as one from the north, it's one that I'm very, very proud of.
You've done well for yourself, and you're also a father of two, which
Yes,
means you also still have to combine all of this, which is why you are a good choice for this segment. And like I said earlier, for the next 6 weeks, I'm talking to my friends who are doing extremely well in their space. But now you hear people saying, "Oh, I'm a communications consultant, I'm a marketing consultant," and now there's lifestyle consultant, which you are, based on your journey, which has put you in place. But what does it mean to be luxury manager for a company? What does that entail?
Okay, so I like to lead with a quote, which is always my go-to, right? They say luxury begins where necessity ends, right? For most people, they have this mindset that luxury is ostentatious, is about wealth and price points and so on and so forth. For me, luxury comes in different boxes. Besides the numbers, it's about convenience, it's about comfort, it's about an appreciation for quality, heritage, and provenance, so to speak, of either services, products, or individuals, right? And one thing that is characteristic, consistent with luxury is excellent and brilliant execution. So there's a high expectation of quality in the luxury segment, be it cars, be it luxury jewelry, be it luxury concierge services. You have a guarantee that you're going to get value for your money. So I feel like that is something that everybody intrinsically within should expect and they deserve, right? So luxury is not necessarily, in my mind, this is super expensive investment or lifestyle choice. It comes down to you as an individual, your expectation of quality and value and so on and so forth. It's just an add-on that if you do things well, you get rewarded for it, or the value of that service or that product is significantly higher than people that are not doing things the right way. So that for me is what luxury speak for. Now, the luxury lifestyle is basically people that have an appreciation for goods and services within that space. People with epicureal taste, that have worked very hard and feel the need to either invest in themselves or use a platform to give back to community and society as well. So there are definitely a myriad of perspectives when you look at luxury. But as a business, it is exploding globally, and it's interesting throughout my 10, 15-year journey that the explosion in the luxury space really took off post-COVID, because luxury went from the luxury items and cars and services that we know to experiences. And we now had a younger, more progressive, innovative mix of consumers from 25 to 40 that were investing in tech and different sectors that have now tapped into this luxury space and then wanted to curate this as a lifestyle with the explosion of digital media and so on and so forth. And that's where consultants and practitioners like myself come in to steer the conversation.
I like the fact that you said with the explosion of digital media, because that leads me into my next question. December, dirty
Yes, sir.
December. I remember 2017, thereabout. Mr. Easy had a dirty rave in Ghana. They were doing Come to Ghana, and Nigerians, someone said we are colonizers. We took dirty December and we took it by storm. We now have a situation where it's no longer Nigerians coming back home in December. You now have A-list celebrities coming from the US, from around the world, podcasters coming to Nigeria just because Nigeria is the place to be in December. I think that's a great industry for us to look into. But do you think the fanfare, the buzz, and all what we've had this December, especially in times where people are like, oh, the economy is tough, things are hard, do you think dirty December lifestyle and like what we've just experienced is sustainable, and is this good for a sector in Nigeria?
Okay, first things first, to your question, I do believe sustainable. And I'm a huge advocate of the creative space and the hospitality and tourism space, especially in Nigeria. As we've had this conversation in the past, like the biggest ambassador of Nigerian culture, lifestyle, and image, ironically, has been through sports, entertainment, and lifestyle. It's not necessarily through our public sector. It's not necessarily through our financial sector, fiscal policies, and monetary policies, and so on and so forth. When you look at the perception of Nigeria, it is driven by the creative sector. And Dirty December, quote unquote, is an incredible vehicle where we get to tell our stories in an authentic way and a very, very cultural relevant way as well. Mr. Easy kind of like started this wave in 2017 with his Dirty Rave. But we've always had this culture in Africa and Nigeria primarily, where in December, diasporans come back home. We leave the city centers and go back to the village to connect with loved ones. And then there's a lot of fanfare and celebration because we're about ostentatious, celebration of life, so to speak. So it is our culture. It's just that now there has been an opportunity to impact the real sector because you will have an influx of people coming back home from all over the world. You will have city centers with hotels at full capacity. You have practitioners in the food and beverage business selling out. I have a friend that has been booked since November last year till the 10th of January this year. He owns, a string of hotels, and it's incredible to see that impact and how it provides jobs, and then there's an injection of FX and liquidity into society as well. The big challenge here is that as impactful as it is and as relevant as it is, we haven't quite, as a people and as a government from a policy standpoint, created an enabling environment to sustain this conversation, because the beautiful thing with Nigeria that makes it different from Ghana, South Africa, and a lot of places, lifestyle is not seasonal. The whole year through, Nigerians have an urge and a passion to celebrate and, recognize milestones. So you have Easter, you have Lent, you have the different religious celebrations and independence and so on and so forth. But there is this hunger for life that Nigerians have, which really dovetails into the tourism sector and the hospitality, food, lifestyle, and beverage sector. So I feel if harnessed properly, as the government is shifting from distilled crude to gas, as an energy option, and looking into agriculture and so on and so forth, the creative economy is an incredible place to reposition our image and our identity as a country, and also provide sustainable income and jobs for the massive, massive Nigerian youth segment, which I believe is over 80% now, not even the 75% that I've been talking about for years. So Dirty December is a testament of what could be, if harnessed properly.
I think I actually do agree with you, especially talking about harnessing. And one thing I've learned about Nigeria is we don't lack the policies, we don't lack the structures, it's implementation. Because
100%.
this administration brought back a Minister of Tourism, there's a Minister of Creative Economy. I do expect more to be done. I feel we can do better.
Yes.
You get to Nigerian airports and your best bet to find out a hotel if you didn't check Airbnb or some online place or booking or whatever. That's not free PR. Anyways, is that you ask a driver at the airport, where can I stay?
Yes.
Where do I go to? But with social media, I see in Abuja, for instance, you have a lot of places that are constantly highlighting Abuja and all. But when we talk about Nigeria, in most cases, we talk about food.
Yes.
How can a Nigerian go out to have, and it doesn't have to be expensive, like you said, to have a good lifestyle experience without it just being centered around food? Because if I eat rice one more day, I'll cry. And so all we have to show in most cases is food. But I mean,
so we've already spoken about the impact and the explosion of digital, especially as communications and marketing practitioners that we both are. Everything you need, all the information, and inspiration you need is out there. You just have to look for it. So I hear what you say that, okay, it might feel like we're very, very rigid in terms of our culinary pursuits, but with over 300 plus, ethnicities in Nigeria, there's a myriad of culinary options to enjoy nationwide. And, a cursory glance on social media with food critics like Opeyemi and Abuja Food Tour and, Lagos Weekender, you constantly see that there are these individuals that go out to curate these experiences, and they are doing the hard work to go into the mainland and go into the south and the southeast and north central, far as Maiduguri, to explore new cuisines and new opportunities. So it depends on how adventurous you are as an individual. Beautiful thing with technology, be it Instagram or a random Google search, you can just put fun things to do in the FCT or in Lagos or in Port Harcourt, or you literally have a search option with AI embedded in WhatsApp where you want recommendations for restaurants and so on and so forth. So the onus falls really on the individual, like what experience are you open to? The services and opportunities are out there. These very, very young, in fact, struggling emerging businesses, right, can only invest so much in marketing promotions as well. But they are listed, so if we do our part to look for them, they now have that access to put their best foot forward, and then you get to engage and try, the offerings that they have. I have always felt like Nigerian cuisine is so vast. When you compare to French cuisine, Indian food, and Chinese food, and this is a conversation we've had in the past, how is it that these very, very fixed menus, Chinese fried rice, you have your great pastas, from Europe and so on and so forth. I feel to a large extent, the processes tend to be a little bit limited when it comes to the cooking crafting perspective. They have very great standards. They have world-class basics, right? But when you look at cultural diversity and different flavors and scents and fragrances and spices and all that, Nigeria has so much to give. But as a people, locally and internationally, I don't think we've really elevated and projected, our cuisine on the global landscape. There's no reason why on the streets of, of London or America or in Asia, and there will be, a few pop-ups of, Nigerian restaurants here and there, but it could be a global phenomenon with, the right focus on things like 30 December, which we get to project our tourism to a global audience. We have a lot of internationals visiting Nigeria for the first time and trying and experiencing all these things. And you will find that they can easily export our culture and make it like thriving globally. It does a lot for our image. It does a lot for us, from an economic standpoint. There is a world of opportunity. I feel with time we'll get there. The needle is shifting gradually.
It is shifting. A secret which is I used to be outside Nigeria, and one of the reasons why I moved back was I miss Nigerian food.
Oh, I get that.
Wherever I am, I love our food. I love our options. I want to see, I like the art, so I want to see more art exhibitions. I want to see more stage plays. With what we've done with Nollywood, Lagos, yes, they do have a couple of plays. They have terror culture. Like, I want more Nigerians and states to invest more time and energy into live shows, stage plays. We've seen it with some of the concerts where most of our big artists don't necessarily lip sync anymore. They now have like a live band playing. I want to see that in the entertainment space, because while we talk about lifestyle and the likes, it also pays a lot of bills, especially this young generation. They're mostly entrepreneurial. And then we hear the likes of Netflix and Prime stopping to create, they want to stop creating local content in Nigeria. It doesn't mean they're taking their Netflix and Amazon Prime and leaving.
Yeah.
And so while that's going, it's taking away money from some pockets and foods from some tables. How can we improve on these sectors, which you've mentioned, entertainment, music, sports, movies, to make sure that it's actually something which is here to stay, not people coming in and leaving because it's not working?
That in itself is not a quick fix. It's a real conundrum, as you know. The intentions of the likes of Amazon Prime and Netflix, Nigeria, setting up shop in Nigeria is because there is a viable market here. Over 200 million, Nigerians, I understand we have, between 10 to 15 mobile users, daily, across the nation. And that number could be significantly more as well. So once you look at the figures, it makes sense for anybody, in the streaming services to want to invest locally. The problem really is not even from a regulation standpoint. It's our creatives and our professionals and our ethics, in Nigeria. The Nigerian Film and Video Censors Boards and, other regulatory entities can, without strangling and frustrating creatives out of the industry, can provide a safe and healthy space for true creatives to thrive. There are lots of brilliant talents, right? But some of the established ones that have had the opportunity to project themselves and be put out there get their first comers advantage, that when these big streaming platforms or music distribution companies come in, they gravitate to what looks like structured and established, and oftentimes those gatekeepers tend to hijack the investment and not apply it the way that they should. Then you see individuals like Funke Akindele, and you see people like Mo Abudu, and then there's Yinka, people that shot also and waiting the Dimbo Atia. They are brilliant filmmakers that are out of pocket, out of bootstrapping, are making incredible projects and putting on these platforms. So here's where the step change kicks in. Yes, investment has come into the creative community, and these investors have not really seen the ROI or the right structure to give them confidence to sustain. That was the wrong approach coming in, to just come into Nigeria, not understanding, not understanding the market and our cultural dynamics and relevance, and throwing money at people. Give our people a challenge to invest and create something amazing, and then you can buy it off them and put it on your platform. Then you have like split sheet where you share investment. I feel would like be more sustainable long term. Yeah. With Bank of Industry and the creative grants and funds that we have with CBN and some commercial banks and so on and so forth. That is what locally we can tap into first, to at least have the enabling environment or platform to invest and create some of these vehicles and machines that you can now put on the global and international stage. Once there's that level of consistency and then proof of concept and comfort with creatives and also the investment that if you do good work, you know, you will sit on the right platforms, you make some good money, it would inspire, you know, a larger sect of creatives to put out great content. Like we started off with luxury. If the work is right, if the quality is right, you get rewarded for it and then even get the right remuneration as well. And that's really the same to the creative community as well.
Let's talk about the everyday Nigerian.
Yeah.
I recall seeing somewhere that less than 5% of Nigerians have up to 500,000 naira in their bank account. We know your story thanks to you now, but there are a lot of people who look at the destination and not the journey. For you to get here, it's what, over 20 years of work, minimum, almost 30. We started working at 9, 11, and the likes. And so talk about living within your means and still having the best quality of life for young Nigerians.
I think to a large extent, you and I were privileged.
Yeah.
In the sense that we had, you know, a family and father that imbibed in us the values of hard work at a very, very early age. As 8, 9-year-olds, we didn't necessarily like it. Probably hated not having the opportunity to play out in the streets as opposed to working and interning and earning your keep, you know, so to speak, where we didn't necessarily, it was not a condition or prerequisite for us to survive and thrive at that time. But what that did is that it instilled in us the values of delayed gratification. I think that's what we now carried on into adulthood, because at that time, it's not like everything that you wanted, you know. You could just, you know, snap your fingers or rub this genie lamp and then it's miraculously done for you by your parents or society or whatever. You had to work for it. You had to have the ambition. You had to plan and think long term. And when I moved into corporate Nigeria, working in banking as well, and also started our business at a very, very early stage, it was all about sacrifice and then the long game, right? I would like to quote Steve Babaiko, you know, paraphrase really. He's one of the finest communications professionals and madmen, as we call advertising executives in the industry on the continent, as far as I'm concerned, probably one of the best, you know, in the world. And I went to visit him, I think this was in 2016 or 2015, when I was segueing from my career and, you know, focusing on our business of marketing communications. And he was having his 3 or 5 year anniversary of Extreme Ideas, his agency at the time. And I was like, Egbon, you know, he went to ABU, he's our northern brother, he practiced taekwondo, but he has always taken us in, you know, as younger brothers. And I was like, congratulations, this is incredible. Like, how did you do this and everything? I was like, Eddie, this is what overnight success looks like. It took me 17 years to get here, 17 years of understudying, 17 years of self-training, 17 years of serving people and working to get to a point that he's now this celebrated icon. And that kind of like, that really, really stuck with me till today. Success is never ending and failure is never final, right? So that is where, going back to our resolution conversation, you need to have a plan. You need to have a destination. The how, the what's, and your whys have to be very, very clear. And then you just have to work intentionally to get to that end point. And how do you work intentionally to get to that end point? You have to learn consistently. You have to have very clear mentors that you want to understudy, whether they're in person or virtual. You have to, you know, on a very granular level, break down your goals and objectives and how you will get there. And this is stuff that, you know, you don't need to be Einstein to figure it out. There are world-class basics and very, very simple rules that guide you on going from point A to B, as long as you're willing to, you know, apply yourself long term. So in a nutshell, I think like that is what has brought us to this point, or brought me to this point. Drawing inspiration from those that have gone before me, and then having a very, very clear vision that this is what I want to do. In 2006, when I was on Ultimate Search, during the auditions, they asked me, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the generic questions answer would be, I want to be married, I want to be successful, I want to have my own house. And then what I said is that I want to have one of the top 5 marketing communications companies in Nigeria. So that was very, very clear for me in 2006. And all the decisions and everything that I've made, even down to my mistakes, has been strategically committed to achieving that goal. So every decision, every opportunity, every job, every consultancy has positioned me to get to this endpoint as a work in progress, really.
Good. So before we wrap this up, I have 2 questions for you. The first one is one question. The second one is rapid fire, 3 questions, and each one you have 3 things to say. So your last official question before we get there. 2025, what are your projections? People who want to be in the lifestyle, what sector, people who are already in it, what do you think will thrive in 2025 in lifestyle and communications?
So for lifestyle, I think what will thrive will be concierge services. A lot of people are incredibly busy. There is no individual that doesn't have like 3 or 4 jobs. There's multiple streams of incomes that they are working so hard to keep head above water in this interesting economic climate that we're in. So for individuals that want to be very successful in this space, and this is a gap that I've seen in my line of work, come up with very creative and brilliant solutions to the daily and consistent lifestyle needs of your constituents. So look at your immediate constituency or demographic or region and see what solutions you can fix, whether it's coming up with a solution for better intercity travel, whether it's hotel bookings, whether it's like restaurant recommendations like you rightfully said. It could be stuff as easy as social media management for very, very busy professionals. These are all different channels and elements that thrive in the lifestyle space, because at the end of the day, human beings will strive for comfort, convenience, and economy of time as well, to get to the most value out of time spent. So I think that's something that will thrive very well. Something else that I think is a huge opportunity that everybody should look at is the streaming and media space. In my work in marketing comms, looking at other markets and other regions, Asia is one of the most advanced, content creating markets, and everything is driven through YouTube. We have an explosion on TikTok with young Nigerians now. There's Instagram and Facebook, which I feel is a lot more restrictive in terms of how you can earn. But there is a channel with, podcasting, blogging, content creation, infomercials, or just explainer videos that is exploding on YouTube. Not everybody needs to be an artist. Not everybody needs to be an actor. But you can use these platforms to amplify your gifts or what you're thinking and see where you earn from. Those are 2 key channels. So luxury lifestyle concierge is very, very big. And then go digital, is what the focus should be in 2025.
Especially with what AI is doing. 100%. I think there are thousands of AI tools right now that we haven't explored. And something you did touch on was YouTube.
Yes.
I noticed a lot of actors and producers have now started creating their content and putting those videos on YouTube where they don't have to share distribution, they can market it themselves, they can see where their money is going and where it's coming from and where to work on. And I find that interesting. I haven't been to the cinema in months. I wanted to go see Gladiators, then got out of the cinema because I was too busy with life. But I really agree with what you said about concierge services. Everybody needs a person. And so in Nigeria, you have your mechanic, you have your electrician, you have your police guy, you have your someone, and that's a service because that's what we did about 15 years ago, 100%. Where everyone kept on coming, oh, where can I get a photographer for this? Where can I get, I want to get on radio, and being business-minded, we were like, oh, we could hook you up, but you give us 10% of it. Or
exactly.
You pay, and that started a business which started paying us more than what we're earning in our
plan
traditional
B became plan A, basically.
Jobs. Yeah. So, to wrap up, rapid fire,
yes, sir.
Tell us 3 things you want to start in 2025?
3 things I want to start in 2025. I want to get my podcast, off the ground in 2025. Secondly, I want to start my own fitness lifestyle platform. It's an ambition of mine for the longest time. And then finally, I want to set up something that is very, very Pan-African in the luxury lifestyle space. I cannot give too much information at this time. Exactly. We're on one of the biggest syndicated shows, in the country, but I can't share so much. But it's really, really exciting. I am very thankful for the privilege and opportunities I have working with for William Grant & Sons Africa as well. So that will be a vehicle to really, really have a cohesive platform to really amplify everything that is great, luxurious, and incredible about Africa to the world. And I'm going to be a part of that. Next round, 3 things you want to stop in 2025. And my last 2 guests, their first point, let's hear yours, and I'll tell you what my last 2 guests said about their 3 things you want to stop in 2025. Okay, 3 things I want to stop. The first thing, I want to stop staying up super late. So you can basically, I want to start sleeping better. Something else that I want to stop is, and I think we all struggle with this, is being a people pleaser. I work in the service industry,
fair.
and my default response is to show up and be there for people consistently, but you cannot pour from an empty cup. You just have to be to a level where you're actually overflowing, and then you can give your best self.
I can train you on that.
You
I'm
can
very good at saying no. I'm very good at not doing what I don't want to do. So, what's
So
the
technically, it's not even saying no, but knowing when
and how?
to say no. And then, the last thing that I would love to stop is to take life. I want to stop taking life so freaking seriously, really. I feel to get the best quality of life, you need to look at life through the lens of a child from time to time, and that is stuff that we have not had, the freedom to do for a very,
That's
very
also
long time.
biblical because remember when Jesus was like, be like the child, and
Yes.
you hear that a lot. Interestingly, our friend Buffy was on the show last week. Well, that was last year as well. And Jackpot, and their first point of what they want to stop in 2025 was procrastination.
Oh,
And I
get
found that really funny.
procrastination, imposter complex. That's a big thing.
Yeah. Well, you ask yourself. So, final question, and which I think is very important. What are three things you're proud of yourself from 2024? What three things happened or did you do that you were proud of yourself for in 2024?
My number one would be my North Star. I'm incredibly proud of my family.
Yeah.
I'm married to an incredible woman who is also my partner, Lulu. Shout out to you. And then my two lovely kids, and they really are my purpose. So that I believe is my strongest and biggest achievement year on year. Secondly, would be one of the big projects I worked on last year, which was the launch of one of our innovative projects called the Grand Chateau, which is very, very experimental, ultra luxurious single malt. I don't want to drop too much because it doesn't come up as a paid promotion, so to speak. But we had one of the most incredible launches, globally, out of Nigeria, out of Africa, and it really has shaped and defined our industry, and I'm privileged to be a part of that. And then the third thing that I was incredibly proud of last year is becoming part of what we call the Collectors Initiative, with a mix of luxury lifestyle practitioners in Nigeria, primarily, focused in Lagos, because it is important that we tell our stories. It's important that we also amplify the values of, our cultural icons, our art, our stories, our heritage, and so on and so forth. And that's something I've been very, very passionate about for a very, very long time. I'm now actively in a space where we can curate, develop, and tell our authentic African stories, consistently to a larger audience, so that we don't get, extinct, like most cultures have struggled with, globally in the past millennia.
Ladies and gentlemen, Meta Luxury Manager William Grant & Son for Africa, actor, communicator, lifestyle expert consultant, and my brother, Eddie Madaki. Thanks for coming on the weekend show.
Absolutely.
My producer, Sam, was very happy to know that you were coming. And I'm sure we've learned a lot. For me, a couple of things I've taken note of, and I feel Nigerians should, your tips and projections for 2025, especially in this space, because it is really valid. We can't necessarily always depend on government, and for things to fall on our laps, we need to be proactive and get it done. Thank you so much for joining us on the weekend show. That's all we'll take for this segment. We have Izina next with social media trends. We'll also have sports, and after that, we'll be talking about the economic prediction and projections for 2025 on the political segment. Don't go away. See you after this break.